Welcome to Breakout Session 5, a developer's guide to rollback with Copado. Thank you all for joining today and thank you for all the sponsors. So myself Swati Agrawal. I have overall 12 plus years of experience, currently based out of Mumbai, working for CloudFulcrum as a Salesforce DevOps consultant. I've worked in multiple domains like investment banking, industry, and CRM. Started my journey as a Java and UI developer. Post that, I progressed to Salesforce and then I started working in release management. I am 5 years Copado certified, 6 years SFD certified, and a certified Scrum Master. Here is my LinkedIn link, so you can reach out to me if you need any help. Okay, let's start the session for today. Okay, so today we'll be talking about rollback. What is rollback? What is the need for rollback? How to enable rollback in Copado? How we perform rollback in Copado, and advantages of performing rollback and limitations, if any. So, what is rollback? In simple terms, the process of restoring a database or program to a previously defined state, typically to recover from an error, is known as rollback. Copado has two different methods for rollback. One is based on snapshot difference, and second is Copado rollback. So in this session, we'll be talking about Copado rollback and how to perform rollback using Copado rollback feature. What's the need for rollback? So you might need a rollback plan because a deployment to upper environment may occur in error, defect identified immediately after deployment, critical steps got missed in the deployment, change management requires that rollback instruction be provided, and of course, you don't want to get a call late night that hey, we have a production issue, we want to roll back, right? So yeah, to sleep better at night. Copado rollback. With the Copado rollback feature, you can quickly compare and select only the changes that you want to roll back. Let's discuss about scope and the supported capabilities. First, we discuss the in scope, and then we'll move on to out of scope items. So, in scope is git promotion and delete metadata steps are supported. You can revert selective metadata changes, rollback updates, additions, and deletions in a single step. You can roll back nested metadata items such as custom fields or record types, rollback velocity components, commit metadata in the destination branch to reconcile changes with Git. You can configure test levels on the rollback page. You can perform validation rollback. So let's say you don't want to do an actual rollback. Before that, you want to do a validation. So you can perform a validation rollback deployment. And you can also mention any pre and post deployment or rollback steps, if any. Now let's discuss what are the out of scope items. Deployments with multi-destination orgs are not supported. Metadata dependency notifications and warnings are not supported. DX source format is not supported. Comparison of velocity items is not supported. You can't delete any velocity components. Other deployment steps like git metadata and metadata are not supported. Flows are out of scope. And deletion of standalone record types are out of scope. So let's discuss the prerequisite. To use the Copado feature, you need to enable the Copado rollback feature. Copado rollback feature, to perform a rollback, you need a Copado admin or a user license and a Copado user permission set. There are a few cautions before you perform the rollback, so you should be aware of all these things. You can only perform rollback with the user license from Copado version 19.2 onwards. Also, a developer who has Copado user license, they can only do rollback till non-production environment. So let's say my pipeline is dev, QE, stage production. So a person or a developer who has Copado user license, they can only do rollback till stage. They cannot do a rollback against production. For doing a rollback against production, you will need a Copado admin license. If you have enabled type filter metadata custom setting, then you can't do a rollback. So let's say in your environment you have enabled type filter grid and you want to do a rollback. So first of all, go back to custom setting and disable this type filter metadata grid and then perform a rollback. Using the Copado rollback feature on a deployment after a subsequent deployment may result in errors. So the Copado rollback feature is intended to be used on deployment before a subsequent deployment. Also note, there are no technical restrictions on attempting to use the rollback feature in deployment, but doing so may have some unintended results. Now, how to do a rollback? How to enable a rollback? On an environment record, you will see a field called enable rollback. So you need to check on this check box and save the record. Uh, Point to be noted here is the Copado rollback feature should be enabled only for business critical environments, because when you enable rollback feature, there are few files which are getting generated, and if you enable rollback for every environment, the deployment time may increase because it will take some time to take the backup as well. So make sure you are enabling rollback only for business critical environments. Now, what is the error you will get if rollback is not enabled? So let's say a rollback is not enabled and you just try to perform a rollback. So you will get something error like this: rollback deployment cannot start, rollback is not enabled in the destination environment. Now let's say I have created a promotion, okay, and deploy it to, let's say, production. Before and this is the promotion I created before enabling rollback. Now after this deployment is done, I enable rollback. So will I be able to do a rollback here? Let's see what will happen. So for the promotion, which was created before enabling rollback, you can't do a rollback on this on that promotion. If you try to do so, you will get some error something like this: rollback can't be performed because either rollback index or zip files are missing. So when you perform a rollback feature, there are few files are created, like as mentioned here, rollback index and zip files. The other error is if type filtered grid is enabled in your org and you try to do a rollback without disabling this feature, you will get something error like this. This option is not available when the type filtered grid is enabled. So you need to make sure that this feature is disabled, and then only you can do a rollback. So these are so you can see this promotion I've created before enabling my rollback. Okay, so here I can just see git promotion, retrieve only metadata. So the rollback files, the index rollback file is not here. That is why when you try to create a rollback on the promotion which was created before the rollback is enabled, you will get the error. Now, how to initiate rollback? When you on the promotion, you will see a button like rollback. You need to click on this. Now, let's discuss the rollback process. Once a deployment takes place in an environment, two types of files are created. One is rollbacks index.json. This file contains the metadata in the deployment step, which will be used during the rollback process. And the other is rollback metadata.zip. This is a metadata backup before deployment takes place. So this is the file which will be used as source of truth for performing the rollback. So here you can see these are two files, rollback index and rollback metadata. So once you enable rollback, and then after enabling rollback, when you create a deployment record, you will see these two files are generated. Now let's see how to do a rollback in action. I've already created a couple of stories, and we can see these stories. Okay, I guess there's a query. So the query is how we ensure rollback for a story from UAT that hasn't made it to production is pulled into all other sandboxes. Okay, so first of all, you need to consider a couple of things. First, is rollback feature enabled in an environment? Second, if the components are new, I'll suggest, in spite of performing rollback, go for destructive operation. Okay, so let's see this story first. So in this story, I've created a couple of object and fields. So as you can see, this story is in production, and the content of this story is a custom field, object and the layout. Let me put one more story, and another story has a record type. This story is also belong to the same object. This is also in production, and as you can see here, it has a record type and custom field. So let's see and try to do a rollback for record type and see what happens if we try to do a rollback for a record type. So this is my promotion which made it way to production. So I'll click on rollback. Here I click on next. My story has only two metadata items. One is a record type and one is a custom field. So if you can see here, my field was existing and my record type is new. So if I initiate the rollback for this story, the record type will be deleted and my field will be updated. Here we can also compare and see what are the differences. So if you click on view differences, you can see what was earlier. So yeah, this field has nothing for now. Okay, so I'm confirming my both metadata, record type and a custom field. Okay, while the rollback is in progress, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so same thing which I showed here. In this example, I've created a custom field, layout, profile, object, record type. So if I have to delete a record type, I cannot delete a standalone record type. If I delete a record type with a standalone, I'll get an error, which I'll show you in a minute. So if I need to delete a record type, the entire object needs to be deleted. So in real life scenarios, when we have existing objects, it is not possible to delete a record type. So in this delete entire object. So in this case, record types needs to be manually rolled back. Copado cannot roll back the record type due to metadata API limitations. Let's see if the rollback is completed. Yes. So now I'll click on start deployment. Okay, my rollback is in progress. So yeah, we get an error here. Cannot delete record type through metadata API. So this is not a Copado limitation. It is a metadata API limitation. So you can't delete a record type. So if you have a record type, you need to manually roll back the record type. Let's move on to the next scenario. Here I've created a flow. Let me close these stories. This flow has made its way till production. So as you can see, it is in production. So now let's try to roll back a flow and let's see what happens. So this is my promotion which was successfully deployed into production. So as you can see here, there's only one metadata type here, that is the flow. And since the flow was newly created, the action item is delete. So I'm confirming my metadata. Here you can set test levels As of now, I do not need to set any test level. Now I'm starting my rollback deployment. Guys, since we have limited time here for this session, so I'll on the Copado best practices group, I'll post my slides, and you can reach out to me for any rollback questions if you have any. So, might possible I will not be able to answer all the questions today during because we have time limitation. So, yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me on the best practices group on Copado. Okay, so my rollback is fail. You can see here insufficient access rights on cross reference ID. So again, as we discussed in the out of scope, flows cannot be deleted. So if you have a requirement where you created a newly flow and you want to roll back it, you need to manually get rid of it. Rollback can't be done through Copado again due to metadata API limitations. Now let's go back and see some other topics. Okay, so here I have created this class. Okay, let me take you to one more scenario. So let's say I'm deploying multiple stories in one promotion. So what will happen in my promotion? There is some metadata which is common in multiple stories. So what will happen if we have some situation like this? So let's see. So if you can see for this promotion, I have two stories, and you see the metadata of these two stories. So if you can see, the metadata is same. The same class is part of two stories. Now let's see what will happen if we try to roll back a component which is common in multiple stories and that is deployed for the same promotion. Okay, so I have my contact answer class. Let's compare. So this class is already in production. Okay, so here if you can see here, um, though this class is part of two stories, here I can see the content of all the two stories. Okay, so it is not showing me which is part of other one story and second story. Now let's go back and confirm metadata. So yes, as you can see here, if we have same component which is part of multiple stories and that is part of same promotion, then you can't pick the changes which one needs to be rolled back. Entire thing will be rolled back because Copado does not give you option to select stories. It gives you option to select the components, and since this component was common in all the stories, it will be entirely rolled back. You will not get an option to selectively um, do a rollback for a particular story. Okay, so there's a question that how you ensure Git remains in sync. So after you are done with the manual changes, you can sync up the higher branches. You can do a Git snapshot commit, and that's how you can sync up the branches. So here you can see rollback is successfully completed. Okay, let's go back to the slides now. Yeah, so as I showed, we have the option, we can select the metadata. If we are, let's say we have 10 items in one story, we can select which item we want to roll back. So Copado does give the option to select particular component, but you can't select a story if it is part of promotion and it has multiple stories. Now limitation, as we discussed earlier, rollback can't be performed if type filter did is enabled. So if you want to do a rollback, again, you need to disable this setting. Deployment with multi-destination logs are not supported. Metadata dependency, notification, and warning. So this one is particularly about parent-child relationship. So if we have a story which is, let's say, parent and child, so when we do a normal deployment, we get if I try to deploy my child story before parent, so I get a notification from Copado that it has a parent story which needs to deploy first. But that is the same thing is not supported in the rollback. As I mentioned earlier, it is important to note when you enable the rollback option, the feature will be available only for the new promotion records and deployment and not for the promotion and deployment which were created before rollback was enabled. We have seen this scenario. If you try to delete a record type, what error we'll get? Flow cannot be deleted. We have seen this in action that a flow can't be deleted. Yes, so references and question and answers, if any. I will be happy to help you guys if you have any questions. If you have do not have any questions right now, and if you get any questions later this session, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have mentioned my LinkedIn ID. Also, you can reach out to me on Copado community. I'll post a question on the section base practice section as well, so you can reach out to me if you have any questions related to rollback. Okay, let's wait for a minute to see if there are any questions or comments. Okay, we have a question. We will need to create new user stories rollback associated metadata that may be with a record type or flow. So first of all, record types in flow can't be deleted. So if you have them in single story also, they can't be deleted because it is a metadata API limitation. You can deactivate them manually, but you can't delete them through rollback. Yeah, George. So there is no rollback on record types and flows. That is due to metadata API limitation. So if you want to delete or do a rollback for these components, you need to manually do it. Okay, we have another question. Is there a list of metadata that can't be rolled back? So see, says Copado is based on Salesforce. So whatever is not supported by metadata API, Copado cannot do those things. For example, flows cannot be deleted. It is not a Copado restriction. It is a metadata API restriction. That is why flows can't be deleted. Similarly for record types. So if you want an entire list, you can check on the Salesforce site that what are the metadata items that are not supported by metadata API. So those are the items that can't be rolled back. Any other query, guys? Will there be issues with rolling back component referenced on the record type of flow? So if you're trying to do a rollback where these components are referenced, yeah, you will get an issue because these components can't be deleted. So you need to do a check before performing such check. For example, let's say a flow is referenced in Yes. So we have another question. Can we roll back the deleted email templates? Yeah. So as I mentioned in the in scope items, we have addition, update, and deletion. So let's say you deleted a email template, okay? And when you try to do a rollback, it is reverted. So deletion is reverted. We still have 4 more minutes. Any other queries, guys? And I know rollback is such a topic where you will literally get a lot of queries. So even if you're not able to cover in today's session, you can reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help you guys.